You discovered the importance of philosophy in a very interesting manner. You were an evolutionary scientist until a midlife crisis made you turn towards philosophy. And when you embarked on this journey to answer some of the big questions, you were presented with multiple paths or frameworks that you could take. The first was religion, but you had given up on religion after you read Bertrand Russell's Why I'm Not a Christian in high school. That got eliminated.
Yep.
You then turned towards secular humanism. Couldn't find that useful. You couldn't culturally relate to Buddhism as well. So you then turned towards Aristotle and virtue ethics. When that didn't work, you turned towards Epicureanism. When that didn't work, you stumbled upon Stoicism.
Right.
On Stoic Week and Stoicon as well. Let's start by defining all these terms. And first, let's start by defining the topic of the hour. What is Stoicism? What are its main principles?
Stoicism is an ancient Greco-Roman philosophy that started in the 4th century BCE. It became very popular throughout the Roman Empire and the Mediterranean world. And later on, it influences Christianity. A lot of the ideas that we actually attribute to Christianity actually do come from Stoicism. For instance, the Christians practice 7 virtues, and these are wisdom, courage, justice, temperance, faith, hope, and charity. The first 4 that I mentioned actually comes from the Stoics, and Thomas Aquinas put them together with the latter 3 and came up with the 7 standard Christian virtues. Then Stoicism went into a little bit of a sort of eclipse after the Enlightenment, pretty much. The 19th, 20th century, people were interested in other things. The whole notion of practical philosophy was becoming to be weird. Practical philosophy had been a thing from Socrates, that you mentioned early in the beginning, all the way through the Renaissance included. But after the Enlightenment, that notion sort of fell away. There was major advancements in science, so people were interested in other things, and they kind of lost touch with the notion of practical philosophy until the 20th century, middle part of the 20th century. One of the first things that triggered a renaissance for Stoicism was the fact that cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a very effective evidence-based type of psychotherapy, was actually started in the 1960s from a direct inspiration from the Stoics. So the very early CBT practitioners were inspired by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, who were all major Stoic thinkers. Mm-hmm. That lent credibility, basically, to a new examination of Stoic philosophy. Because, wait a minute, if modern science says that this thing actually works, and has, there is data showing that this stuff actually works, it does improve people's lives and so on, then maybe we should take a look. And then a number of people, we were talking about the connection between scholarship and practical philosophy. 2 scholars that are very likely not recognized by the general public were instrumental in the resurgence of Stoicism. One was Larry Baker, who died a few years ago and wrote a very difficult to read book, I have to say, called A New Stoicism. This was an academic book that was not meant for the general public. Nevertheless, it kind of reshaped the whole notion of Stoicism, because Larry in that book was asking the question, okay, so what would happen today if we take these ideas from 2,000 years ago, 2.5 millennia ago, and update them by including modern science, modern psychology, modern philosophy? What would be the result? Hence the title of the book, A New Stoicism. Yeah. Another scholar, Pierre Hadot in France, published 3 books, the most important one of which arguably is The Inner Citadel, which is a book about Marcus Aurelius and his meditations. And that book also was meant not for a general public, for an academic audience. It's a little bit difficult to read. But those 2 inspired a new group of people, including philosophers interested in talking to the public, as well as cognitive behavioral therapists, to get together and start a very practical thing, which you just mentioned, Stoicon, which is an annual meeting of people interested in Stoicism, and Stoic Week, which is a possibility, a chance for the public to actually try out living like a Stoic for about a week and see how it feels. So you can see here a direct connection, really, between the scholarship on the one hand, which is read by very few people, but then it influences an intermediary group of people, and then this latter group kind of brings it out to the general public.